Hi, this is Carlos Cousins, and this is a reading question asking us to draw an analogy between something provided to us in a passage and potential answer choices. So for this sort of problem, what you want to do is simply go directly to the situation presented in the passage. Think about it in the context of what has been discussed in the passage as a whole, but then simply compare that portion to the answer choices and see which draws the best analogy. If you want, something you can do is create a chart. Keep track of the answer choices that make the best sense to you. And I'm going to show you exactly how best to go about making the chart for this problem in a second. But let's go ahead and go to the lines in the problem first. So starting at line 4. For instance, Junot Diaz, the Dominican-American Pulitzer Prize winner for fiction in 2008, writes in English but sprinkles his text with Spanish. These Spanish words are unitalicized so as to emphasize their non-foreignness. Diaz's writing illustrates the quandary of many Hispanic Americans. So this is a portion of the passage that we're told to look at. And now we're going to compare this with the first answer choice. An Asian American painter fuses the styles of China and the United States, creating a new artistic aesthetic. So this makes sense and could be the answer choice, given that we have the mixture of two elements, just as we had the mixture of two elements on the passage. And I'm going to say that this is a passage. Let's go ahead and consider the second answer choice. A German citizen raised in England by her German diplomat parents tries to write a book in German but includes English phrases in the text. Well, this makes sense because we're talking about writing again, and we're talking about writing in two languages. So this shares that exact same idea, so that's a good analogy as well. We're going to go ahead and consider the third one. A Native American newspaper published both in English and Cherokee decides to discontinue the Cherokee edition because sales are low. So this is the very opposite of what we're talking about. Here we are mixing two languages, so for the same reason that the first and the second options might be correct, this one has to be incorrect because we're no longer mixing two elements of two cultures for an analogy to hold true. This last one, a famous Japanese-American cellist starts a project that brings the music of Asia to the American stage. Well, this one doesn't make sense either because what we have here is only the music of one region, that of Asia, brought to America. We're not mixing things together, so that one doesn't make sense. A Dominican poet is successful in Latin America but cannot sell any novels to American audiences once the works are translated into English. Well, again, this doesn't make any sense because we're not mixing anything, we're translating from one thing to another. So we're left with two very nice looking options. And like we said, the reason for the first one being considered is because we're mixing two elements. The reason for the second being considered is because we're talking about the exact same concept here of writing in two different languages. Now, the reason why, as you all know, answer 2 is actually better, answer B here is actually better than answer A, is because what we have in answer A is a fusion of the style of China and the United States, and you can assume that you're going to have, here we're going to represent China with this circle, and we're going to represent the Chinese style and the US style with this circle, and that this is going to fuse to produce a new style that is about 50-50 Chinese-US. What we have on this end, on the, and it's also new, we're told, what we have on the passage is mainly American. It is mostly in English, what we're talking about, and a tiny little bit in Spanish. And we're producing nothing new because we're told that this is illustrating the quandary of many Hispanic Americans. So this is something that already exists. So this is old, and it's not 50-50. In fact, it might be 99-1 or 90-10 or whatever you want. So the differences here are many. Whereas in between the German citizen raised in England and the Dominican American here in America, the difference is only that one speaks Spanish in a country where English is spoken, and the other speaks German in a country where English is spoken. But both are pretty much doing the exact same thing. Of course, the cultural aspect, the fact that there's many Hispanic Americans there here, and that there may not be many German Americans in England, is lost, but it is the closest analogy we find. There were at least two major differences here, and we can only find one from the logic we've just followed anyhow. I hope that helped with this problem. Happy prepping!